Okay, just a quick little note before you start. I suggest you watch this movie or this video clip at least twice before you start. This was quite a fiddly job. You need the following tools. Okay, I've got basically 4 screwdrivers here. Little watchmaker screwdriver, Phillips head, smallish, little flat screwdriver to get out some of the stuff, 2 tubbies, 1 Phillips, 1 flat, and a long Phillips screwdriver. Make sure these things are magnetic. Okay, if you drop a screw, you're going to strip down. You're going to start from scratch. You're going to have to take everything out to find that screw. So make sure they're magnetic. These screws are in all kinds of weird little places. You are going to battle to get hold of them. Then the next thing is the spares that I needed, or the paint and the thinners and all those sort of things that I needed throughout this project. Cost me in the region of about 250 Rand. That's the equivalent of probably in the region of about 30 odd US dollars, in case you're not in South Africa. But then if I take the time that I spent on this, which is probably about between 3 and 4 hours doing this, I would have spent my money better actually just buying a new radio, to be honest with you. So although it's quite satisfying to do something yourself, and the result is actually quite nice, think twice before you start this project. Okay, so I bought my Nissan 350Z secondhand, and as you can see on the radio here, I've got some damage. Clearly the person who was using the car used their fingers quite a bit, and this was damaged. So what I want to do is I'm going to remove the radio to refurbish the faceplate, and I'm going to take you step by step through the process of doing so. Alright, first and foremost, what you want to do is you want to remove this little bit here, which holds it is around the sort of gear lever, and it's one unit with all these knobs and everything going up here. Very easy to remove. There's a little lip inside. You just sort of grab it, give it a bit of a tug, and it's going to come out. You need 2 hands for that though. Okay, so there I've given it a bit of a tug, came loose. You can see it's all one unit here. Just be careful, there's a little ribbon cable on the inside there that you don't want to damage. I'm going to remove this and then show you more. Almost forgot to tell you, the gear knob effectively just screws onto here, so you can just really screw that off, comes off, and it leaves you free to remove the whole leather bit and everything over here. So now that that is loose, I can pull this apart, and yeah, I need 2 hands again. You can see the little ribbon cable on the inside there. Okay, so what you have is 2 plugs, this hook over here that you need to pull out very carefully, and then that hook in there has 2 screws right at the bottom there. 2 screws that you just have to remove, and this whole unit here actually comes out. Okay, so once you've removed the screws, this hook here has 3 plugs. Each of them can only go in one spot, so you run no risk really there. Just carefully unplug them, and then that whole unit is actually removed. Right, job done. Next step, 2 little screws right there and there. That's going to loosen the rest of this console. So let me get on with that. Okay, with those 2 screws out, what you need to do is remove the inner portion of this little glove box over here, which exposes these 2 plastic bits. They pull off like that, pull back, and exposes 2 more screws on the inside of that you need to remove. Right, next, these little 2 side covers really just pull away from the car, and on the inside of them, don't know if you can see them there, there's a little screw there, and same on the other side. When you pull it away, there's a little screw in the back there. The whole console then should, if you pull at the top here, just pull back and the whole thing should come loose. Let's try that. Lastly, 2 little screws that park on the bottom over here, that hook and that hook, and then the console is, well, technically should be completely loose to pull out. Obviously there's some wires at the back that we're going to have to remove. I'll get back to them in a couple of seconds. The wires you have to remove are quite short. I'm standing in front of the car now looking through the windscreen, and it's that hook here over there that's going to allow you to pull the top end of the console away so that we can access the wires at the back for the radio. Bit fiddly, but pretty easy to remove. Just press the button, sort of wiggle it out of there. Okay, after much fiddling, I realized that there's a little bit here that you just have to sort of push back with a screwdriver, and then it comes out pretty easily. I know you probably can't see it there. Just that little square area of my finger there. It's a little lock mechanism that just keeps the plug in place. Came out pretty easy. Right, then we move to the back of the radio over here. You've got all them plugs sitting over here that you need to pull out, as well as obviously the aerial wire. And then we should be able to take the whole thing out. Okay, that was just downright painful. These things have little index buttons stuck at the bottom of them. They are almost bloody impossible to get out. There's that one over there. This one's probably the worst because it's stuck behind this little plastic bit. Yes, I'm trying to get in there. It's stuck behind a little plastic bit that you have to get your finger into, and they're very stiff. So that nearly messed up my thumbs, but there they are. They're out. 4 wires, 3 plugs, 1 aerial, and now the radio is out and on the floor. Next step is going to be to remove that. Oh, top tip. Cover your gear lever with something, cloth, piece of sponge or something, because clearly when you're going to pull this forward, if you don't take care, you can scratch that whole console with the gear lever over here. Also, good idea to leave the door open of that little glove compartment so that you don't scratch that on the gear lever. Right. Removing the radio unit itself, pretty simple. 4 screws on each side. Technically the radio should just slip out towards the front. So I'm going to remove these 4 screws now, check if I can remove the radio. Okay, so I've also had to remove the 2 screws on each side here to loosen these brackets. And then you've got these 2 little screws at the bottom that's still keeping the faceplate connected. Remove those 2, see if I can get the radio out. And voila, with these 2 screws removed, the radio just slots back, and theoretically I should be able to just now clip the faceplate off from the front over here. No other screws keeping it back, and then I should have this faceplate loose to start preparing it for paint. Okay, so the radio itself has these little indent hooks all over the show, right around the radio. On there, and I had to just go around the radio very carefully, moving them forward, little inch by the time, or inch at a time, and eventually the whole thing just popped forward. Nothing keeping it there. Clearly this plug over here connects the faceplate to the rest of the radio, so this thing is basically off. Alright, so what I need to do now, take off all these little screws on the back, which is going to take out all the electronics, and technically I should just then have the faceplate to be able to work on that. Okay, so after I removed the screws, the plate didn't quite come off, and it seemed to be stuck on the corner over here. I've tried before to remove this knob, and it's quite difficult. Right now I did it by just actually pushing a screwdriver in there and giving it a little bit of a tug to get it out. Just note, and I'll put this again in the sort of foreword, nothing needs force to come off. If it's loose, it's going to clip out. Okay, you don't have to force anything to get it out of here. A couple of things are a little bit fiddly to get out, but you don't have to force anything. Okay, so this is the bit that's left, front of the radio. Maybe just good to note at this point, and I hope you're watching this video before you actually start the job. In doing this restoration, I've sort of made peace with the fact that I'm going to lose CD changer, Nissan, disc, RDS, and those sort of wording off the front of the actual cover, because I'm going to repaint this cover. All the buttons and the little door and those sort of things should still have all their writing on once I'm done, but and as well as these little buttons and so forth. But obviously whatever is on the faceplate here, we're going to be sanding down the faceplate, hence you will lose that. And that's it, the raw faceplate. I'm going to mask the little tape door there because I don't want to take off the spring. So I'll just mask it from the inside so it doesn't get painted. but then I can start preparing this. Like with any other restoration, your digital camera is your best friend. Take pictures of everything, take pictures of before and after, especially because now all these buttons are removed, and later on the digital camera will show you quite nicely where everything is supposed to go into. Alrighty, so I sanded the faceplate with 1200 grit water sandpaper under some running water. Quick job, making sure that I don't damage any specific parts, but also making sure that I get all the bits where it used to be damaged. After that, wiped it with some lacquer thinners to just make sure that I get rid of all the oily bits. Next job, I'm going to use plastic primer to give it a nice base coat before I put on a nice lick of satin black. Right, this is exactly what it shouldn't look like. Clearly something went wrong. Either I used thinners where I was supposed to use something else, but yeah, I've got oily bits. Paint isn't quite sticking. Actually looks quite terrible. I'm going to have to look over there. Paint's actually lifting up. I'm going to have to remove all of this and basically start from scratch. Okay, so I hit the University of Google to try and find out how to strip paint off plastic. The short answer is there is no short answer. One website suggests that you use brake fluid. Now, I know that brake fluid works. Brake fluid will take paint off just about anything, but I also know that if you use brake fluid on metal, you probably never will get any paint to stick to that metal again. So, seeing as this is a pretty important part, something that I can't replace easily, I'm not prepared to take that risk. So what I'm going to go with, lots of them say use thinners. Bought myself 5 liters of thinners and got myself a bucket, some 1200 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to need some elbow grease, see if I can clean this thing up and paint it again. Right, this is working extremely well. I've literally had this in here for less than a minute. I gave it a couple of shakes. You can see how the paint is already coming off here. The old paint, or the base coat that I put on there, literally just washed off. So this seems to be working quite well. I'm going to just carry on cleaning this and see if I can get all of this paint off. Right, roughly 10 minutes later, effectively I stuck it in a bucket of thinners, shook it around for a bit, paint started coming off. After that I took it to the basin, washed it in hot soapy water. This is the result. This thing is clean and dry, and I'm now going to stick the plastic primer on top of that, and then after that I'm going to give it satin black. Okay, I've started reassembly. Those little white things that would have dropped out when you took off everything, they fit in the bottom of here. They've got little slots that illuminate the CD slot. Now you have to put them back in before you put the CD slot or the holding bracket back. Also, the buttons here need to go back before you put that metal holding bracket back for the CD slot. I'm going to finish the buttons and I'll turn around and show you what it looks like. Okay, that was a little bit fiddly. The white bit had to go in before that bit and its holding plate. So I had to take that off again and put the white bit back. Alright, also the white bit has screws there, 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 and there. So I had to figure that out the hard way, unfortunately, but now everything's sort of tight and I can show you what the front of the face looks like. Oh geez, now I can't see. Let's just see if I can get this into the light somewhere, into more light. Pretty happy with the result. Alrighty, so reassembly effectively just the reverse of everything that you did previously. So if you used your smartphone to take pictures of every step of the way, simply go backwards through your pictures and remember how to put it together. Good luck!